Welcome. I am Murphy Daly, AV veteran, project manager, author, and columnist for Ravy Pubs. You can find me on the webs at Written by Murphy. You are joining us for the AV life.
James here, writer for the Higher Ed Digital Magazine, IT and AV column, and you are watching and listening to the AV Life.
And hi, I'm your host, Tim Van Wert at T Van Wert and at the AV Life Pod. Also finding us at the Starin booth on June the 9th at 10 a.m. West 1903 at Infocom. And you are watching and listening to the AV Life. So yeah, starting off with that, actually, before we do anything else, there was a little bit of a correction. Hopefully you heard it at the beginning of last week's episode. I know in the episode we were talking about like 2 p.m. in the afternoon. There was some minor scheduling moving around and trying to make sure we could get as many people in as we could. We've been bumped up to 10 a.m. on June 9th at the Starin booth at Infocom West 1903. Come and find us there. Excuse me. Find the Shore banner in the air, and because I'm sure that you'll see them. Then you'll find Starin like right next door. So and then also while you're in the area, go to Williams AV, which is Nancy's little company as well, because they are also like 2 booths down. So I think Nancy's going to try to dart over to us and then dart back to her booth. So
Okay,
lots
Peter.
of darts.
Yeah, there'll be a lot. Let me tell you. Well, hang on. I'd like to introduce our guest first before I go on a whole nother thing. Tammy Fuqua is back here on the AV Life. Welcome back, Tammy.
Hi, thanks, Peter Brady. I mean, Tim.
I'll take that. I feel
the little
very
crack in the
Peter Brady.
voice.
Yeah, yeah.
It's great to be on. Thanks for inviting me on.
Yeah, well, glad to have you back and glad you're here for the firing range. We're a little short. But it's fine. We're gonna be great tonight. All right, so Infocom, real quick. Well, because next week's episode we have Joey Lloyd and Barbara from the Avixa Marketing crew. They're going to be coming on along with Richard Hutton from Sharp NEC. So we're going to have them on for a pre-Infocom show, which I'm going to push out as fast as I can, so that way I can catch everybody before they leave for Infocom. So just a kind of a precursor to what to expect this year in Vegas. And I know my calendar. After James and I, after the episode last week, we sat down and I was going through my calendar and I'm like, I have no more time. Like I literally am booked like hour by hour by hour by hour, and then by 3 hours in the evening. So it's like
crazy this time.
Yeah, I've gotten so many invites and I've gotten so many phone calls from people. I mean, James, you're in a new position out there in Vegas. I mean, has that kind of been what you've been experiencing?
Oh yeah, my calendar is getting full. Totally agree with that. It's different, and not all of it I would say is job related. Some of it is, but I actually was saying it's people in the industry. Like you got the AV Nation parties, you got higher ed parties, events, and I've been connecting with many people outside of what I do daily, of saying, hey, we got to connect, we got to have a meeting, come by our booth or come across this party. So it's a little mixture. I think it's getting out there on the socials as well as the new role.
Yeah, and I think that's what it's been. From a hot off the trade show trips, I have Nancy Blanchard. Nancy, welcome.
Hey.
Nancy.
Hello, happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
Am I the only one hearing music right now?
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess so. How did that even happen? I'm sorry, I had music playing in my ears, so I'm not even sure how that happened.
I don't hear any.
All right. So Tammy, what are you looking forward to InfoComm? You booked up?
Oh gosh, I had to finally tell Avixa, because with the new role, I'm doing a lot of things for Avixa. I finally had to say like, I do have a job I need to work too.
Ah.
So yeah, I'm completely booked from Monday all the way to Friday, and it's going to be fun because I will be officially in the new job. So this airs the day I start. So since it airs the day I start, I'll say that I'm moving to QSC. So I'm really excited about that.
And very much congratulations on that.
Yeah,
Tammy.
thank you. It's definitely been a journey. So I'm really noticing how great the company culture is, and I haven't even started yet. So very excited with landing there. So, but yes, totally busy, and I don't think I've been so excited about InfoComm than I have for this year. So really looking forward to
And
it.
look what I'm wearing. InfoComm 2020.
There you go.
2020. That was the virtual one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Tammy,
Yes.
mention, can you talk about the Women's Council event, and can people
There you
still
go. Yes,
register?
please.
Thank you. You know what, James, the check is in the mail. Thank you for reminding me. Yes.
Yeah.
So the Women's Council will be having a breakfast on Thursday morning. So if you are a morning person, head on over to, it's in the North Hall. But we have a great speaker lined up. Her name's Melanie Spring. And the whole initiative for this year is to revitalize the council because, COVID didn't do anybody any favors, and the council has been a little bit silent the last couple of years. So this year is really about getting the council moving again. We are the largest council within Avixa. We have over 1,000 members and 50 groups worldwide, and we are growing again. So we have some new groups to talk about. And then we have an initiative that we are really getting behind, which is called Rosie Riveters. And what Rosie Riveters does is it's a nonprofit that raises money to send STEM and STEAM kits into K-12 schools to help encourage girls to lean toward technology as a profession. Obviously in AV, women are the minority by far, only 14%. So this is to try to spur technology interests at a young age so that we can have more females come into the AV industry. So Tim Albright gave us a goal because we had already met our first goals, and now he'd love to see us get to $30,000 $30,000 in our goals for fundraising. So we are almost there. So if anyone out there would love to do a sponsorship of Rosie Riveters, please reach out to me because I'm more than happy to take your money.
So there you go. Yes,
So,
that's a worthwhile donation out there. So yeah, reach out to Tammy and let yeah, that's great. That's awesome.
thank you.
So I'm glad to hear that it's going as well as it is, and it's something as clearly you see here on the AV Life every week. We are very strongly behind women in AV, and it's
right.
by the extremely high quality women that we have on this show every week. So
it's great. Yes, and we're outnumbering the guys tonight. So
yes, yeah,
That's a lot with us
yeah.
here.
Yeah,
that's good.
Okay. Oh yeah, is there still availability at the women's council breakfast?
Absolutely, we do. I think right now we're at
They'll
about
add a little water to the soup.
yeah. We I think are right now currently about 200 people that are going to be attending the breakfast, but we have room for more. And it's not just for women. This is also for men that support women in the industry. So don't let the Avixa Women's Council title fool you. If you're a guy that really loves to help support women in the industry, we would love to see you there too.
That would be great. Yes, definitely for everybody. Stop in, have breakfast, support everybody, and that's awesome.
Thank you.
So and also on Monday, as this episode is releasing on Monday, it is Memorial Day. So we want to just quickly take a moment and thank all those who have, and remember those who have given their lives in defense of this country, to keep the freedoms that we have, and don't that other countries don't have the luxury that we do. and just to be thankful of those who have given the biggest token that they can to our country. So thank you to all of them, and thank you. I'm at a loss for words. That's just, it's been one of those days, one of these weeks. And to continue the somber moment, we do remember all the children and staff who lost their lives at the shooting in Texas this week, or this last week. As my opinion only, and not this is Joe A jokes but this is my opinion, not the opinion of the show, not the opinion of higheredav.org, not the opinion of Rutgers University, not any. This is me personally, Tim Van Wert opinion. We need to do something else. Thoughts and prayers are not getting us anywhere. There have been too many shootings, too many, whatever it needs to be. And I stand by that. Yes, if the right people have the right guns, then okay, fine. And that's kind of my opinion. And I know it's a bigger conversation. I know there's way more to it, but we're at the point now that we need to do something. We were at the point, Sandy Hook was 20 years ago, 15 years. I feel like it's forever
10 years
ago,
I
but
think it was.
10 years ago. Sorry. Yeah. My brain is, I have no concept of time because of COVID. So but 10 years ago, we should have been having this conversation. You had, we were talking a little bit pre to this about pre the show about this, because I wanted to warn everybody that I was going down, and I didn't want to blindside anybody with this. This is a bigger conversation. There are multi facets to this that need to be addressed, and it has to come from both sides: Republican, Democrat, Independent, tree hugger, whatever you are. We need to talk about this, and then there needs to be a compromise of something. Oh, we're gonna throw a bill out here. We're gonna throw a bill out here. It's like, okay, great, but then it lasts about a month, and then that's it. And then there's another shooting, and then it's, oh, we gotta do something. We gotta do right. So enough is enough. Let's do something. I'll leave the floor open for further discussion on this. So, and again, I'm putting this out. This is my opinion.
This is
If the crew has any, or Tammy, if you have anything you say, again, these are our individual opinions, not the opinions of anybody that we represent at all. So.
I would disagree with you. I mean, my first reaction when I heard this story about this school shooting was, didn't we learn from Sandy Hook? Like you mentioned, the school shooting then. And I just don't understand, like, a lot of these shooters are young. I mean, 18 years old, and have a high powered rifle. And my take is, like, in this country, we also have to do something about mental health, and not make it such a stigma to talk about mental health, or, if you're having those things, or you're witnessing someone that is going through something. I mean, the conversations need to be had, because it could prevent one of these shootings from happening. And I think that we need to start also talking about mental health in this country. And it's something that we don't do.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you, Tammy.
I agree with Tammy, and I don't, there's not enough factual information out about the Texas shooting right now, but some things about the Sandy Hook one, which again, they're all tragic. Something needs to be done. We need to get out of this whole talk, no action movement, whatever we do. But the whole push for gun control, you take the Sandy Hook one, is he was denied guns. He filed for a permit and he was denied. His mother locked up the guns and kept him away from it. He killed his mother, broke in and stole the guns. He was denied access to the school. He shot his way in. This was someone who there was gun control, gun laws and he wasn't following them. Like most criminals, most bad actors do not follow. Now, that's all I'm going to say on that, because I do think this is a larger topic. I agree with Tim. I agree with Tammy, sorry, that something needs to be done. We got to stop talking and put actions behind our words.
Yeah, and I know
would like
somebody.
to say,
Oh,
James,
sorry.
I would like to say, you said it earlier, Tim. Thoughts and prayers are not really a solution. They're a response. But my impulse is, hey, let's get some data, like you're saying, James. What is actually happening? What would actually make a difference? And a lot of it, my heart also goes with what you're saying, Tammy, that it's mental health. But my addition to the mental health is, we are a community. We should be involved in people. We should be aware of what's happening in our community. We should be connected with people. I have a very sad story talking about tragic things that happen. My first boyfriend in a small town in Alaska. Everybody knew that his stepfather beat him. Everybody knew. Everybody knew. And the story was, well, at least he doesn't beat the younger kids. And that was the answer. Like, well, it's being fixed because, well, he's kind of an asshole. Well, that is what was happening in that community. That was happening where people decide certain things are acceptable to ignore. I want to be open-hearted towards the people that are in my community. I want to know what's happening and pay attention, and not close the door and say, that's the answer, done. And I think you find things in the last place you look for them. You always find your keys the last place you look. Well, that's because you stop looking. And when we come up with the answer, oh, is the answer just getting rid of AR-15s? Oh, good, we're done. No problem now, forever and ever. I don't think that's enough. This is deeper. And I would like there to be more energy on exploring actual ways that will result in improvements, and ways that require personal responsibility, not writing to a congressperson. That just takes it away from me. So I think personal responsibility, personal engagement is very much what I want to do about this.
Yeah,
And I will say, and I know I said before, like, something has to be done. Now, I admit,
I agree.
I'm an AV guy. Like, I'm not a politician. I'm not a mental health expert. I'm not part of the NRA. I'm not, like, I don't have guns in my house. So, like, I don't know what that answer is. So I know I say something because I only know that something has to be done, because
I hear your heart.
doing
You're saying,
nothing,
this can't happen. This is horrible.
right? Like, and like, doing nothing is not an option at this point.
Right.
Like that, and so when the options are something or nothing, I'm going with something, just because anything is better than nothing. So that's why, like, if someone came back to me and said, hey, Tim, well, if you just say something, like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know. Like, cause that's not my that's not my field of expertise, but I know what my heart tells me. My heart tells me that I have a 7-year-old that's in first grade. I don't, like, that day that they had the shooting in Texas, they also had an evacuation drill at his school. I don't know if it was just coincidence or if they were like, this happened, you know what, we should do a drill. They're installing locks at Rutgers, deadbolt locks on the doors to the classrooms from the inside in case of an active shooter. And that's for 18 to 22-year-olds. It's like,
colleges too.
So something has to be done. And this is like one of those clap moments. Like, something has to be done. And I wish I had the answer. I don't. And I just, yeah.
It's just like in California, all of the schools now are gated. You can't get in and out of a school. I mean, I drive by my old high school because my mom lives over there. And I remember, like, there never used to be a gate around the school. Now every school has a gate around it. And it's just like, it's like become a fortress, right?
Mhm.
Because you don't know what's going to happen. And like, for me, when I hear these numbers, it's like, what is the number going to get so big that that's what's going to happen? Like, oh, okay, well, now maybe 30 kids, are gone. Now are you going to do something? Okay, now it's 50 kids. Now are you going to do something? When is it going to end to where they finally say, hey, maybe we should do something? I mean, I don't know.
It's a definitely a tough situation. I mean, yesterday people saw on my yesterday as Wednesday was my daughter's 10th birthday, same age as kids in Texas.
Mhm.
So that it does really hit home. Um, like Tim said, something needs to be done. We don't have the answer. I don't think, as we can see, I don't think anyone has a true answer. We can't do a knee jerk reaction because that just takes us down a bigger rabbit hole. But I do think something needs to be done. I agree. And sometimes we need to be that change. That's the thing is like mental health, like Tammy was mentioning, is just be a friend, be a smile for somebody. When you're frustrated, think about when you're frustrated, and if you have someone like just even on the car, like you're driving, you're frustrating, and someone's riding your ass, how does that make you feel? You probably get more frustrated. Then
Enraged.
yeah, you get angry, you get frustrated and stuff. So why would you ride up someone's ass? You know how you feel when it happens to you. Why would you do it to someone else? So it's being out there and being a friend, being friendly,
And
being that smile face, like Murphy right there, like being that friendly person.
I was going to say, when COVID started, I started doing my video greetings. I got on LinkedIn and I moved it onto Twitter too. It's become the Hey You greeting. And one of the most dehumanizing things that I'm going through right now is a job hunt. There are a avalanche of recruiters calling me all the time. And they're these people, they can't, how are they supposed to make a connection? When I work with people, I'm like, hey, this is my coworker. How are you doing today? How was your weekend? How are you feeling? You had the sniffles yesterday. I can be human with them, right? You can't do it when you're just engaging with a whole bunch of random people that you don't even get to know. Like it's a phone call and another phone call and maybe an email back and forth. So these are super unhuman, and I don't like it very much. But you know what? They don't like it either. So they call me, and they're calling from probably 3 different international VoIP calls. And they're like, drop remote. And I'm like, yes, I'm open to a job opportunity. And yes, I want to work remote, all that. So, but when I also say, I'm like, they have to do that. They have their churn. But I'm like, hi, how are you? Yes, the job sounds great. And they go, oh, one of them actually said, you know what? I connected to you on LinkedIn and I showed my friends your video. I like your video. Because I got to be human and he got to realize that he was a human too. We need each other. And that's true of everybody. We need each other just to smile and say hi. It's not that hard.
I have a practice where, so someone had taught me if I wanted to learn how to network better, to just start with simple things like just asking people, hi, how are you doing? So that just became a practice of mine. Like I'll go through the grocery store line and I'll ask the clerk, hey, how's your day going? Or how are you? How are you? Their reaction is like no one has talked to them their entire 8-hour shift. And like, what are you asking how I am as a person? And it just became my thing. Like, I just love going up to people and just being like, hey, how's your day going? And having that reaction of like, I'm so happy you asked me how I am as a human being, and whenever I go through, say, once again, a grocery store line, and someone is on their phone and they're like barely looking at the clerk and they're just like handing over their money and not even interacting with them and not treating them as a human being, that makes me so angry, because I just want to tell them, get off your phone and treat this person like a person. Stop treating them like they're a robot that you don't need to interact with.
I bet you feel better too when you get a response.
Absolutely, because
Yeah.
it's the same thing. Like if it's on even on this other side of it, where the clerk doesn't have any interaction with me, yet I'm friendly with them, I take note of it. It's like, I'm being nice to you. How come you can't be nice to me? I mean, I guess you don't have to. There's not a thing that says they have to be nice to me, but I just feel like we're all running the race, right? We're all trying to get there. Why can't we just be nice to each other?
It helps, I think.
Yeah. It's those simple things, simple acts of kindness, or random acts of kindness, it's um and that
And
that
they're
can make,
simple.
and that's simple. Yeah, that's simple. Just to say, hey, how are you? How are you today? It's like, I have a coworker of mine, he goes, hey, how you doing? And like, I say it back to him. He actually takes the time to respond, which I appreciate. It's like he stops for a moment, pauses, and then responds, because he's like, I want to think about that. And I'm like, so maybe you'll get that automatic response of, that's fine. But maybe sometime, like you said, Tammy, like they're gonna actually like be surprised, and they'll actually give you like a real answer as to what is going on. And maybe that's what they needed. Maybe that's just what they needed, the ear to listen and actually listen and care, that for a moment somebody wanted to know how my day was going.
Yeah.
And to also, the book I'm reading now actually had something pretty wise in it. It's a pretty good book so far, but it was saying how a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm too busy to be nice."
Mhm.
You're
I know.
responding either way. So it takes no additional time to be nice. You're already responding. You're already in the moment.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes people look at being nice as a weakness. And I feel like it's the opposite. I feel like not being nice is a weakness. You're showing that you're definitely hurt about something.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I agree with that. It's that if you have that much anger and that much hurt and displeasure, there's something there. Like,
mhm.
it takes real effort to be angry.
It does. I
Yeah.
feel like it is. I feel like it takes a lot more effort to be angry or hostile to someone. Like think of your blood pressure when you're angry. You're just like, or hostile. I feel like it builds, right? But when you're nice, I always feel happy when I'm nice to somebody. So why wouldn't I just continue that behavior instead of being hostile to someone?
And also,
Agree.
if you're too busy to be nice, are you so brittle? If a person is so brittle that they can't even manage to smile at somebody, that's an issue. You don't have the wherewithal to bring forth the smile. That's a problem. Like, oh, you need to take a minute. You need to take a look for yourself. If you're so busy, you can't even smile. You got a bigger problem than just a smile.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you.
Mm.
Mhm. It's good to be an optimist sometimes.
That's my motto. I mean, what, a lot of the things that you're not, if you're taking a stance of not being optimistic, if you think about it, I mean, it takes a lot more effort to be pessimistic, and
Mhm.
most of those things you can't control anyways. So just go with the flow.
Let me tell you this story. This was during an AV install in Pasadena. And we had like a couple rooms, and it was like, oh, I got this pressure done. Oh, I get it all done. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And oftentimes in AV installs, you have to get like the ceiling work done, and then that gets signed off. And then the rest of it, there are certain places where you have to have things inspected before you can do the rest. So this guy was coming, and they're like, okay, the inspector's coming tomorrow. So we really got to make sure to get all our ceiling work done before we have enough time. It'll be okay. And in walks this guy, grumpy guy. I'm so-and-so. I'm the inspector. We're like, oh, the inspector was supposed to come tomorrow. This is throwing off our schedule. This is not good. So everybody is like, oh, they're not saying it because you can't do that. And I look at the guy and I'm like, hi, we were expecting you. I'm glad to see you, which is not what they wanted. We didn't want him to be there, but he was there. So I'm like, welcome. Do you need coffee? And he was so upset because he wanted to screw things up. He was a grumpy inspector and he was like, oh, but I kept being sunshiny at him because I'm like, might as well. And
Melt that ice with your sunshine.
Yeah.
That's what, yeah.
As I say, it takes their guard down, right? They're just
Uh-huh,
like,
it did. He's like,
oh, okay, now I have to be nice.
because they're like, well, it's actually not done yet. So we're not going to be able to complete that till tomorrow. We thought you were coming tomorrow. So we expect to have it done tomorrow. Can you come back tomorrow? How's it going? You want to see what we got? And he was like really loving the fact that he was coming in and screwing up our schedule. And he knew it. But I'm like, fine, you're not going to make me upset at you because nothing is to be gained by that. And I just watched him. It took him a while and he was like grumpy. And then he kind of was like, I didn't expect you to be glad to see me. Like, well, I'm glad you're here. How are you doing?
Like I wasn't expecting
makes
you,
a
but
great
you're
story.
here. I'm going to make the best of it.
Yeah.
That's all you can do, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
It's the Canadian way, you know, and listening to you folks and things. There's a big discussion. There's a lot of Canadians, especially in California, obviously, and you know, we have strict gun control. And there was discussion on LinkedIn as well as even on Facebook about it. And, you know, everybody, they're just putting their hands up in the air going, what the heck is going on with the US? So why isn't the US looking at other countries and the control that they have on guns and you don't see the shootings? I think I retweeted today, or it was yesterday, and it was showing the US was like #1 spot. And then you'd have other countries where maybe it was 1 or 2. I mean, the way that I see it looking in, it's the friggin' political people. I can say Republicans, especially for Texas. They don't care. They're just in it for receiving, you know, cutbacks from the NRA and, you know, other companies. They're not really truly keeping in mind about children, until there was one that I read about today where he has grandchildren. So now all of a sudden he's taking notice because that could have been his grandchild.
mhm. Yeah. So I mean, it's there are I know this is on both sides, that there are politicians who have long since needed to retire.
Yes.
I'm just going to put it that way, because the things that were valid 50 years ago are not valid now. You know,
Yep.
actually, even the things that were 40 years ago, because I'm 42. So 40 years ago, you know, or 42 years ago in 1980, that's one thing. What's happening now is a whole nother ball game.
And I think it just has to do with, you know, one side wanting to be that kid in the sandbox who's, you know, making a hissy fit and saying, nope, not going to play. This is how I'm going to do it because I know that, you know, it's not right for you. And that's how I've been watching this for the past, I don't know how many years coming in. And yes, I am a dual citizen. I was born in the US, but lived most of my life in Canada. But I just shake my head at some of the stuff that goes on.
Well,
And like
it's
you said, Tammy, the elementary school that I used to volunteer when I got out of the AV industry to raise the boys, I used to walk freely on and off campus. I walked by and like you said, it's black gates.
Yeah.
There is like nothing. It's like a prison.
It is. Yeah. All the California schools are like that now, where when you drive by, and it's not just like a chain link fence. I mean, it's these big black, thick wrought iron bars, and it looks like a prison. Yeah. And I mean, sadly, I mean, you're talking about the political part. It should have nothing to do with politics. It's about humans. We're losing human lives at an alarming way So what are we going to do about it?
Yeah.
And I mean, can you imagine how sad it is that we have to teach, K through 12 kids to like an active shooter drill? I mean, can you imagine the little ones? Like, they don't understand what that means. And we're having to teach them to go hide in a closet because a shooter might come into their school. I mean, that's sad.
Yeah, it is. And, or we need to teach them. And I know they did it during the war and everything, hide under your desk or, but that was during wartime. Like,
Mhm.
we're not in wartime. We are, I mean, maybe we are. Maybe we're in a different type of war.
It's a different type of war. Yeah.
We're in a war among ourselves.
It
And
was one of the things that happened also is I think it was that person at the mall that did some shooting in New York. And that was a tragedy. And that certainly got a lot of press. But there was also in Orange County another shooting for a Taiwanese church.
Mhm.
One of the tragedies of what happened for this sad shooting in Texas was the police did not actually go in for quite some time to stop the shooter. They were waiting outside, like, oh, maybe he'll stop. And it took a while. The shooting in the Taiwanese church in Orange County, there was a man there, and this I'm particularly interested because I study martial arts. He was a sensei. He was a black belt in his martial art, and this guy came from Vegas, and it was definitely a hate crime. He was really trying to target that particular type of people, and so he did these crazy things. He like chained all the gates. He put
Super glue.
Yeah, he put super glue in the locks, and he was like, he brought like bombs or like Molotov cocktail type bombs, and he was going to go in there and kill everybody. And what actually happened is the guy who was a sensei had done the training to condition, like, this is what you do to defend yourself. And so he went in and stepped in front and blocked this guy from shooting everybody. He did shoot a few people, but they didn't die, thank God. And they actually jumped him and tied him up with an extension cord so that he was disabled and couldn't do more damage. So I think I want to train my daughter and myself to be ready, to be aware, and to take responsibility for my own protection. That's this to me is like a continuation, like to say, oh, we should just tell somebody else to do something. Like, certainly that is a possible thing to do, to create different types of laws and create different types of public policies, but also to have a sense of, it is my responsibility to reach out to my community. It's my responsibility to be connected to the people around me. And it's also my responsibility to be aware when somebody has gone off the rails and take action to protect myself and my community as best I can.
So, against unpopular opinion, I also feel we're getting wrong advice from the experts, let's say. After Sandy Hook, there was actually there was a lot of discussion through schools and universities and everything of, ways to lock down, protect. If you look at these lockdown drills, what are they doing? As Tim mentioned, stuff's going on at Ruck. You're all shutting in to one room, maybe into a corner of the room, all in one location. This one person who provided great, good information, definitely an SME in the law enforcement. He was talking, and he's like, no, he's like, call chaos, run, all different directions. He's like, these people, like, as we go back to the whole mental state, is these people are not in a mental mindset. If you are causing more chaos and have a lot of things, they're not going to be able, they're not focused. They're zoned in, they're tunnel vision. And if you're causing more chaos, throwing things, running different directions, there's less things that can happen.
So James, I agree. That makes sense. And that works, I think, in high school, maybe junior high. I mean, and you probably see it with your kids, maybe, or maybe, my son takes direction very well. Like if you tell him to do something, like whether it is go hide, he'll go hide. If I was to just let him cause chaos, he would just run around like
Yeah.
a chicken with his head cut off, and that would not exactly work.
But no,
So-
that's where the adults need to come in. Yes, when you're in this school, a young K for 12 or even K for 6, where yes, they may not truly understand the proper way to do that chaos, but you have enough teachers and stuff there. That's when, like, okay, Tim, you grab these 5 kids and go that way. Tammy, you go that way. Nancy goes this way. Like, the adults, instead of saying, oh, everyone jumps in Tim's room, shut the door, and now we're all sitting there in one location.
Fish in a
It's-
barrel.
Yeah, you all grab a bunch and move.
Mhm.
That's,
I mean,
like I said,
yeah.
that
And like
was
you said,
someone
the
who was
subject
talking.
matter
And
expert.
I
and
was just
listening to
playing
people
devil's
who've dealt
advocate.
with it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. I was saying, I'm just playing devil's advocate because people also say our teachers are supposed to be there to teach, not to be defenders of children, which
Yes.
and there have been heroic stories of teachers who have been, and I give them all the praise in the world. It's the one that have been able to stand up against these disturbed individuals, because that's really what going with what Tammy is saying, is like there's something that needs to be done for those individuals, but that's not what they're like. You're as those of us that are in higher ed, we're guiding students to become teachers, to teach the students, not to
Mhm.
be directors of chaos for
No.
the potential of a shooting, but yes, I get what you're saying though, James.
Yeah,
Like it's very, it's almost like with the like when you take CPR lessons. Now
Yeah.
I'm gonna get there, so hang on. Hey, hang with me for the ride here. And they tell you when you're doing CPR and you're doing those sort of things, you have to give direction to people, because otherwise, if you just say somebody caused chaos,
Mhm.
they're all gonna kind of look at each other. But if you say, like you said, Tammy, go take those 5, go this way. Tim, go with this 5, go that way. So that requires that level of management, for lack of a better,
Or
to be able to manage.
not
Oh.
just management, but level-headedness in a
Yeah.
situation like that. I mean, I don't know how I would react if there's an active shooter where I am. I'd be like, holy crap, I don't know if I'd have the level-headedness to go, okay, this is what we need to do. But there is always someone that has the calm and the wherewithal to go, okay, this is what we need to do.
Well, that's also what drills are for. When we do fire drills, we say, everybody do this thing. So if there was a fire, we would go, okay, this is what we're supposed to do. So there
Yeah.
could be a drill for that as well. And when it comes to the elementary school kids who are little, and the teachers should get the drill.
Yeah.
Say, this is what we're doing.
Well, how sad that we have to have this conversation. Or like, I mean,
Right.
think back 20 years ago when you walked into a grocery store. Did you ever think, hey, what would I do if someone came in here and shot up the grocery store? But now when I go to either a live event or, hey, sometimes I'm just walking around the grocery store, I'm just thinking, what would I do? So, I mean, it's sad that I would have that kind of thought, but that's the times we're living in.
Even I thought about that when there was the shooting in the movie theater.
Mhm.
For a
Yeah.
while there, I did not want to take my boys to a movie because I thought, what would happen? You sit in and you look for where the exit is. But what if the exit's blocked?
Mhm.
I mean, but for also, in places of worship that this happened, wasn't that SoCal, Tammy?
Yes.
I think.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that Murphy was describing earlier was down in Laguna Beach. Yeah, I mean, and you think, oh, I'm just gonna go for Sunday worship. I'm gonna see my community and spend time with them. I don't think about someone's gonna come in here with a gun.
Mhm.
Unfortunately,
That's,
now we
and
do.
that's
think that.
when you're with your community like that, you should feel safe. Like
You
that
should
is-
feel safe.
Yeah.
And just
You
a
know,
little small thing too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank God that we have that, because there are many, many locations in the world where it is extremely common for people with guns to come in and make things unsafe.
Mhm.
So, yes, it's happening here. It's also happening other places too. And just kind of being aware, which is why we could get subject matter experts probably from war zones
Yep.
who say, here's what you do when a shooter, this has worked really well. Like, we wish we didn't have the experience to know that, but there are people who have those experiences to know. And I think, yes, let us continue to do things intelligently with thought and care to continue to bolster peace where we are and safety. I want that.
Mhm.
Well, and I think having conversations like this, candid conversations, maybe will bring about more change. I mean, that's all we can hope
That'd be fun.
for. But
Mhm.
I mean, it's time for action, not like you said earlier. Prayers, thoughts and prayers are just not
enough.
Mhm.
anymore.
Nope.
There needs to be action.
And
Yeah.
speaking of action, I must step away. Thank you, my friends.
Well, thank you, Murphy.
Hi, Murphy. Well, I think
So-
But I also don't want, and I'm beginning to see a pattern of mental health,
Mhm.
mental health. What's that? What's
Mhm.
all of a sudden I forgot. There's, some instances where it isn't that, and I just don't want for everybody to think that that's the Band-Aid that's going to solve everything.
No, it's not, and
No,
it's not. There are ones that are racial charged
Yeah.
or racially charged, they're religiously charged, like so
or
that
politically.
politically, it's there's so many pieces to this
Yep.
conversation that it's not and mental health, although I will say it seems like mental health is a big part of that, but then like with Black Lives Matter movement and with other organizations like that, like there are problems that we need to address on
Yeah.
so many levels in our country and globally. But I think after hearing everyone talk today, and this is a good way for us to start kind of like wrapping this up, it needs to start at home, and it needs to start with yourself. And Michael Jackson and his song, Man in the Mirror, it's like, I'm going to make a change. I'm going to start with that man in the mirror. It's like, you start with yourself. And, maybe as, a friend or as a coworker, you see something that's happening, see something, say something. It's, we all have to kind of look out for each other, because there are times that we need that honesty from somebody, and maybe it's not going to be an easy conversation. It's
Well,
not,
and
it
it's just
never.
that, yeah, sorry. I was going
Go
to
ahead,
say,
Nancy. No, go ahead.
it's that one thing of where it was Victoria Beckham. She's been telling her daughter, if you see a child that at recess, at lunch, that is sitting there by themselves, go up, sit down, talk to them. She said, because I was that child that I was always by myself. Nobody would talk to me. I was depressed. I didn't feel good about myself. And that's what it is that it's just that people react because they see everybody else, reacting to one another and hanging out. And unfortunately, I'm sure we all know this and have gone through it. It can be pretty terrible if you're at a conference, you're at a meeting, and you have all of these different groups and you don't really know anybody, but you're standing off by yourself and you don't want to look like you're alone.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, and I recently did a retreat for young women from 18 to 25, and some of the conversations were about mental health, and I was shocked to hear how much anxiety and depression and suicidal thoughts came from those conversations. And I thought it was hard when I was 20. Oh my gosh, they have a whole different it's the young adults now are the most connected they've ever been, yet not, if you
Yeah.
think about it. All the social media and the pressures of social media and being better and that brings on a lot of mental health problems. So
I was just reading actually, I think it was a podcast, not was reading. 'Cause I also listened to one about soccer coaches and stuff. And May is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Mhm.
And so they did a whole series on that. And they actually had a coach on there who was saying that a parent contacted them because they wanted to find out why their child wasn't advancing. It was a daughter, wasn't advancing. They were very talented, and they were going through a couple different scenarios of why she wasn't getting better, even though she was one of the better athletes on the team. She wasn't progressing like they thought, and the coach sat down with the mother and the daughter and actually drilled down, and it turned out was there was a underlying depression, anxiety, nothing that the mom or daughter knew about until they got into a deeper conversation that was holding her back from achieving higher level of athlete.
Yeah, and that's the hard part, is that even with a lot of these unfortunate circumstances, events that have happened, is it wasn't until, the parents said after, I had no clue.
Yep.
Mhm.
it's unbelievable. I
Yeah.
mean, like if, for example, this 18-year-old kid that did this week, I don't know how their parent, I mean, to be a parent and find out my son or daughter did something like this, I would be devastated.
Mhm.
And I just don't, is the connection not there for them not to see that their child was going to do something like this?
No, well, what I had read, Tammy, was that he was more or less, he got into a big fight with his mom. He cut off the Wi-Fi. He was told to go live with his grandmother. So there was already tension between he and his mother. She lived with a boyfriend, and now the boyfriend saying, yeah, I always thought that he was kind of not with it, anger
He saw
issue.
something.
Yeah. But you
See
know what? When
something,
you're in
say
a small
something.
town, I can tell you the same thing. I grew up in a small town, which is where Handmaid's Tale is actually recorded, funny enough. But there was a lot of that between parents with that fighting, and then absolutely no conversation or no communication. So, I mean, that's when, how do you address that?
Yeah.
Mhm. I mean, yeah, that's
So
the way I look at it is that, yes, is it a tough conversation to talk about that sort of stuff, but you look at it two ways. You have the conversation and nothing's wrong. It could just be a teenager being a teenager, which, I've been there, I've seen it, like, and or it's a teenager with something that needs to be said, and they get the right people in line, so, and they get the help they need, it's addressed. So yeah, you may get a cranky teenager if you're wrong, but and it could be anyone. Cranky adult could be, but if you're noticing something off, especially as like a teacher or a parent or so, or boyfriend of a parent, girlfriend of a parent, whatever your relationship may be, but you have that with regular intervals, and you kind of go, something's not quite right, say something. So I say I say it so simply, and I know it's not, but I think, yeah, like I said, I think it boils down to being kind and being aware, and I
Yep.
think that we could do it at home. We could start at home, and
Yep.
our thoughts and prayers go to the people that actually make the changes. That's where the thoughts and prayers go. And I think, yeah, write your, write your congressman, write your senator, let your voice be heard, because they're the ones that ultimately that are going to make the decision. And but we could start at home, and we could do that at home. Let's do that. Let's be better as Americans Canadians, wherever you're from, humans at home, and let's start there.
Agree.
That's good.
This has
Sounds
been an awesome episode. So thank you so much, everybody, and thank you for listening. I know this isn't our usual end of month. I can't even say what we usually call this because I feel like it's not fair at this point, and we shouldn't be. I will brainstorm what this is going to be going forward because I think it's something that we need to consider. But thank you, Tammy, for joining us. I know this isn't exactly what you signed up for this week.
No, it was a
were-
great conversation, and I appreciate that I was able to join it. So thank you.
And I think, and I
Yeah.
think it was meant for you to be here tonight. Like, I think that was, I think there's a real piece of me that thinks that, yes, this, even though this wasn't, like I said, what you signed up for, you were meant to be with us tonight to have this conversation.
Yeah,
So,
I think so too.
as we're all,
Yep.
as with all of our crew members that were here. So thank you to everybody. Thank you to our listeners, for listening. Just
Yeah.
keep an eye on us on social media. That's all I'm going to say at this point. So until our next adventure.
Bye-bye.
Bye, thanks.